Good morning, everyone. It's right at the hour, so we will get started. Welcome to the Managing Your Daily Invoice and Payment Inquiries, especially when working remotely webinar. It is sponsored by AP Request and Deborah R. Richardson, LLC. Some housekeeping items before we get started. This session is being recorded. You will receive a link to the recording within 3 days. Feel free to submit your questions anytime. They will be saved for the Q&A session during the last 10 minutes. And if we don't get to all of the questions asked during the Q&A session, we will follow up with answers via email, but you can also submit additional questions via email and we'll provide those email addresses for you. Lastly, don't forget to download the handout, a PDF of the presentation. So I am Deborah R. Richardson, and you may have heard of me by my tagline, putting the AP in happy. As a previous AP senior manager, managing a team of 17, processing over 2,000 vendor requests per month, I was responsible for maintaining 140,000 active vendors across 7 different ERPs and the AP Vendor Maintenance Help Desk. Okay. So let's review the agenda. We will first look at inquiry challenges in AP today. Then we will look at strategies to help streamline AP Help Desk inquiries, including manual processes and controls. We will then turn it over to Jason Whitman of AP Request, and he will show you a way to add automation to the AP Help Desk function. And then we'll wrap up with a Q&A session. Okay. So first, let's look at inquiry challenges in AP today. So the methods used to contact AP is the phone, the email, and then also mail, because you'll get vendor statements via mail. And the common inquiries are, did you receive my invoice? Did you review my outstanding statement? When are you going to cut a check? Where do you send the money? Do you accept ACH, etc.? Now, challenges with a quick turnaround for these common inquiries, or all inquiries, is that you have staff that are putting out other fires, or it's just not enough staff to manage inquiries. You also have AP analysts that really need to focus on more analytical initiatives. And then, of course, you have instances where the inquirer was asking the wrong person or the department. So you're kind of saddled with directing those to the right source or resource. And then the result of a slow response, again, because of the challenges, is a vendor may be put on credit hold. You can tarnish vendor relations. And then, of course, that escalated issues, those can reach up to top executives. So now we're going to, before we get into it, we're going to start with a poll. So let me launch that. Okay. And this is, how much time does your AP department spend on answering invoice and payment inquiries? More than 75%, 50 to 75%, 25 to 50%, less than 25%, or hopefully nobody answers this way, we ignore those inquiries. Okay, still have a few that need to vote. Lots are saying less than 25%. Okay, so All right, so it looks like, wow, we do have a few that are saying more than 75%. We have over half of everyone have voted. We'll just leave this open about 10 more seconds, and then I'll share the results, and then we'll move on. Okay, so it looks like we've got, actually it's even between 50 to 75%, 25 to 50%, and less than 25%. All of those are at 29%. And then about 14% of you have more than 70, answered with more than 75%. All right, so then let's get started on how you can streamline the AP Help Desk. I'm going to close the poll. All right, so handling help desk inquiries. So the first thing is assign a team member to urgent requests. This helps with putting out fires and decreases the potential for slow response. You can also add email confirmations, and both, this is really a change requests to your AP or to your vendor data if they come into your AP desk. And this is in addition or in substitute of the phone confirmation for your vendor changes. You can also add email confirmations, and this helps especially as those are working, both vendors and AP teams are working remotely. Not all have access to their phones. And then add a confirmation log, because as you confirm vendor or vendor help desk changes, then you need to track, because you won't get through to your vendors at first try. And then this way you can identify what's pending and have another team member follow up, and then management can also track to verify that they are still being done. Okay. And then add authentication. So requests can be received by phone or email for both vendors and employees. And again, vendors and employees may not be using their desk phones, so you need to confirm and verify they are who they say they are. Again, especially as people are working remotely. And then create a process doc. And this helps where your team is spending a lot of time asking the same questions. A process doc with frequently asked questions will allow the help desk team members to copy and paste responses. And another positive behind that is that it will also standardize the responses that are given, no matter which help desk person responds. And then send a welcome letter. This answers vendor questions related to payment methods, where to send invoices or other information, including, if you have FAQs from the process document that are related to vendor questions, include those in the welcome letter. Okay. And I do have a desktop procedure template as a free download on my website if you need a head start on creating a process doc, and then also a welcome letter. And then the next one is streamlining the AP help desk, especially when working remotely. So for phone inquiries, if the phone system is unavailable or employee capacity is strained, you can assign one person to triage calls or just eliminate phone call inquiries altogether. Turn on a voicemail to notify callers to send the request via email. And then with email inquiries, include an auto-respondent for any changes to process. So if your SLA or turnaround times have increased, include that in an autoresponder to level set expectations with those that contact the help desk. And then generic email box, of course, this allows multiple team members to access AP emails. Surprisingly, especially in smaller departments, I still see distribution lists or individual emails being used for help desk inquiries. And then AP policies, so include both your normal and reduced function processes and have leadership sign off on those inquiries. Post it for your internal employees, and this goes directly to handling pushback. You can use that AP policy as support for any pushback from internal stakeholders or vendors, and you also want to include an escalation policy. And then whatever changes you have for reduced functions, add those to your business continuity plan. And then lastly, measure your KPIs, key performance indicators. What is measured improves, and tracking inquiries by person and by time of day. And you can compare and monitor against your stated turnaround or SLA, service level agreement times, to make sure that the help desk is adequately providing service based on your normal or reduced function expectations in your AP policy. And now we're going to turn it over to Jason Whitman, and he is going to talk about AP request.
Thank you, Deborah. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jason Whitman. I'm the founder and CEO of AP Request, and we specialize in building custom AP portals that help streamline your operations and strengthen those supplier relationships that you have. And before I get into the demo, I just wanted to call out a couple items here and benefits about having an AP Request portal. First of all, we're going to reduce those supplier phone calls and email inquiries that you have. Allow a central place to start receiving invoices and W-9s. Like I mentioned, strengthen your supplier relationships by being transparent with the information that you have on file. It's a simple and easy to use portal, ERP agnostic, and it's a relatively quick installation. We can get the portals up in about 2 weeks with limited or zero IT resources from your end. Let me just hop over here without further ado to show you just a demo environment that I have. So this is a fictitious company called Wine and Pepper. So some of this information is customizable. So you would have your own portal, or excuse me, your own logo in the top left-hand side. And even the color schemes we could change. If there's a marketing strategy that your company has, we can change the green to say a purple or a blue. There's two different login systems that we have, and what you're looking at right now is the combination login system, where a visitor would need to know the invoice number, amount, and invoice date to gain access to a specific vendor record within the system here. There is also a more conventional email address and password registration system that could be offered as well to have more control over who you're giving access to the portal. And that would just be a simple registration form that the visitors would fill out, their name, the company they work for. The verification piece is very key. They want to use maybe a check number that they've received in the history of working with your company, or a purchase order number, which could be used to further validate the request that's coming in. And I'll show in the demo later what it looks like on the admin side to receive these registrations and to decision them. But for right now, for this demo, I'm going to use the combination login system here to gain access. So typing in an invoice number, the amount, and the invoice date. And so I have a positive match. So now I've entered into the system for a specific vendor that has this invoice number 215. Something else you'll notice here is on this box will show you when the data was last refreshed. And mind you, this is a test environment. But again, the 215 invoice number was carried over from the combination login. And so when I hit search on there, it's going to show up the record for invoice number 215, vendor number 3. And all of this information that you're looking at is customizable per your specifications. So what kind of questions are you being asked? What's the status of the invoice? When is it going to be paid? Has it been approved? What is the payment method that you have on file? And if I go ahead and click clear on the search panel, it'll clear out the invoice number, and I'm just going to do an open search. And here it's going to show me all of the invoices that we have on file here for the vendor number 3. All the visitors could then download this information into Excel so that they could use it to do a VLOOKUP against one of their own statements that they have to find any sort of missing invoices that they might be hunting for. In the event that they don't see the invoice that they're looking for, they would just simply go to this next tab here for Submit Invoice, fill out the brief form, their name, email address, subject, and a little brief message, and then go ahead and attach the invoice and submit it to you for processing. This next tab over here, the AP Info screen, this is really just a blank canvas for each one of the AP departments, and it gives you an opportunity to call out anything specific about your AP shop, something that makes you unique. What are any of the policies that you have? When do you normally run your pay cycles, or what are the requirements on purchase orders? Anything that you're getting fielded questions with today, just maybe even around policies, this is your opportunity to put that information out there for that public to see, and again, reduce those inquiries that you have. So just logging out, I just want to pause for a minute because that is really the whole entire demo for the visitor's experience from your suppliers that are coming in. Just want to show you how easy and clean the site is itself. So suppliers that are going to come here, they're going to be able to gain easy access. They're not going to be intimidated and turn away. And then once they get in, they really just want to find out those core questions. Do you have my invoice? What's the status of it? When can I expect payment? How can I submit the invoice if I don't see it? And those are really the 4 questions that we're trying to take away from your staff and give them the autonomy to go to the portal and get it themselves. So I'm going to hop over here and show you the admin side. And so there's 2 ways that we can load the data from your ERP system into the portal. The primary one that we use is the SFTP, where we can work with your IT department and we would automatically load the data. But for those departments that really don't want to wait for IT or just want to do it themselves, there's this option where they can simply load the text file themselves directly through the portal without having to go through their IT. We also have some reporting available for you. So we have this login activity. And again, this is just test environment data. But the login activity is really going to help give you your return on your investment. You can see all of the unique hits that happened within a given time period, what the vendor, if it was a pass or fail, the vendor number that was using it. So you can really see which suppliers are using it or that are not using it as well. We can go over here and just click on the email activity report. And this is, again, another report to show you the activity happening, who's submitting invoices, what the messages are, the attachments if they're submitting attachments, as well as the date that they're also submitting. All of these reports they can download to Excel as well. Lastly is the Notify Me report. And the Notify Me functionality really comes into play when you may have those vendors that understand you have a portal. They love the idea of it. They know the information is valuable, but for whatever reason, they can't get to the portal, can't find time in their day, or just refuse to go to it because they have other clients they're dealing with. That's where the concept of the Notify Me comes into play, where we can register them to receive monthly emails from the data that's in this AP request system of everything that hasn't been paid. So you can think about it as sending your suppliers a reverse statement. So instead of asking the AR team for the outstanding statement, you could push them monthly. Here's everything that we have that hasn't been paid yet, and allow them to do the VLOOKUPs themselves, and then they can send over the invoices that they're missing. Now, the Notify Me tab, this is just a place you would go to configure any of the suppliers to receive those notifications if you're using the combination login structure. And the registration manager, if you're using the email address and password structured for logging into the portal, this is where one would go to manage those requests. when the registration form is filled out, an automatic email is generated to someone within your AP department that says you now have 4 or 5 new requests to join the portal. They would log into the admin side here, review the requests that they're looking at or that are being made. Again, checking that verification value to see if you can compare that information against your ERP system to make sure the vendor is legit and you're comfortable giving them access to the portal. And you'll also see as part of the registration, with this model, they're allowed to elect whether or not they want to be notified on those Notify Me functionalities. And when the decision has been made, you would assign the vendor number that matches this record for this vendor, and you would either approve or decline. And when you approve it, it would send an automatic email to that particular supplier welcoming them to the AP request portal and allowing them to go in that very day to start looking at their invoices and submitting them. So folks, that pretty much does it for the entire presentation. I know we crammed a lot of information there in just a little over 10 minutes. So if anybody would like to have a private demo, please send Deborah a chat. Visit us at aprequest.com. You can shoot me an email. I think Deborah's going to show you that information later. But we're more than happy to sit down and have a private conversation and go through any more of those sophisticated questions, or I'd love to just see if we could help reduce those inquiries that you're having. So Deborah, I can turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you, Jason. So let me show my screen. Okay, let me make sure it's showing. Okay, so let's get to, okay, so now here's the time for Q&A where we can answer your questions. We do have on the screen here the email addresses for both myself as well as Jason, along with our websites. So it looks like we have a couple of questions coming in. So the first one is, how much data can the portal hold?
Yeah, that's a good question. We can pretty much hold as much data as we need to. When you're thinking about what data you're sending over, it's just going to be one record per invoice. And typically we would recommend clients going between 2 and 3 years worth of data, depending on perhaps how large the company is.
Okay. Is the portal designed just for suppliers, or could anyone use it?
Yeah, another good question. Anybody could use it, especially if you're using the combination login structure. So under that model, if you have somebody in a department or within your company that is sitting on an invoice, and rather than them having to navigate through their ERP system or give you guys yet another phone call to ask about the status, they could certainly use that system to get in using the combination style login to figure out the status of that invoice.
Okay. And can they submit W-9s as well as invoices?
Yes, they can. The demo environment that I showed just had the submitting an invoice tab. If there needs to be another place where they want to send W-9s, there would be a separate tab that would look very similar to that would have another similar form, but those would be just specifically for W-9s, and they would get routed to a different location rather than processing invoices.
That's actually a good feature that gets that what could be, sensitive information. If it's an SSN, it gets it out of email. So that's a good option.
Yeah,
all right. Yeah. Next question is, how often is the data refreshed?
So that's entirely up to the client. Typically, it's once a day. If we're using the SFTP model system and refreshing it, we would schedule that for the morning hours. But with the ability to load data yourselves, you can really do it as often as you'd like. If you're running a payment out in the morning and there's a client that really is just bugging you for an update on these certain payments for a credit hold, once you submit those payments out, you could refresh the data and say, go look at the portal so that you could really update it in real time.
Okay. All right, so I don't see any more questions. And again, if anyone has any questions, be sure to type them into the question section. And as a reminder, if you would like a specialized demo of AP requests, please put that in the chat, and we'll get that to Jason. Or again, you can always reach out to myself or to Jason using the information that's on the screen. And then, so it looks like we don't have any additional questions. We can go ahead, Jason, unless there's anything else you wanted to mention, we can go ahead and conclude the webinar.
Thank you for your time, everybody. I really appreciate it. Deborah, thank you for putting this together.
Okay, thank you. And for the attendees, I hope that you found immediate takeaways with the manual processes to streamline your accounts payable help desk. And then I also hope you found some additional interest in automating that process using AP request. Thank you for attending. This webinar is now concluded.